innocent bystanders. Welcome to another episode of an Angel Honey Unicorn comic book reviews. I'm Alan the Unicorn, and with me today I have a special guest that came back. It is
Monica the Harpy.
And with us always is always Jenny. That's our little angel on her shoulder, making her rude comments, I'm sure, from above. She tells me all about them all the time. Anyways, we were spoiling the books for the week. So if you haven't read the books, you may want to take a moment, read your books, then come back and see us again after that. Or we'll spoil them for you and you can continue on with your life.
You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Either way, it'll be a joyous occasion. If you can, like, share, and subscribe. We'd love to have a great conversation. Ring your bell so that you can get notifications when we post videos. And then once a month, I will post them to Facebook so that you can have them access there too if you'd rather do Facebook. Either way, let's get right to it so we can get this little young lady on with her life. I will let her go first. And what book are you going to read?
Okay, the first one is Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it's number 8.
Uh-huh. And it is written by
Donny Cates, art by Corey Smith, and the cover is by Mike Henderson.
All right, go for it.
All right. So, it jumps right in with a very disturbing picture of poor Rocket.
I know, he's very...
He looks a little upset and a little under the weather.
Yeah, he's a little sick, got some things going on.
Yes.
So.
And so here at the very beginning, I'll make it big again. There it goes. Rocket is clearly very, very ill, and they are trying to bring him back on board to help out with different adventures because he's not doing so hot. But he doesn't want to be back. He just wants to let the end of days.
Yeah, he's ready to be done.
He's ready.
And Moondragon and everybody's like, "Let me in. Let me figure out what's going on. Let me help you." And he's like, "No."
No, and he's very, very resistant to helping. And then it opens to him at the very beginning of his origin story, I guess is what.
Yeah.
And so it's a poor baby Biscuit Rocket, surrounded by the doctors and the robots that are altering him. And initially he was with, on this half world is where he was born. And where is that name?
Oh.
That
Undisclosed location, a mental ward kind of psychiatric planet where he was like kind of like a therapy pet. And then once they decided that they no longer needed him, they kind of forced him into a caretaker, like by making him
kind of more weaponized.
Yeah. Like mutated him.
Right. And initially there was a more humanoid doctor, or
that was a patient.
A patient who would help, who was kind to Rocket. Yeah. And then that person left, and poor Rocket was left alone with these robots who altered him and were super unkind. Very, very, very sad. Very gruesome.
Yes.
But he did say he enjoyed the trade-off of his enhancements because he made friends and a family with Guardians of the Galaxy and had amazing adventures.
Yes.
And so once he tells his story of being with the Guardians, and then I guess he was starting to break down, like his body was starting to break down, and he did not want to be a burden to the rest of the team and the Guardians, and so he left.
Yeah, so throughout the book, he's like, I don't want to, he goes, it's my choice that I don't want people to see me like this. I didn't want you guys to see me like this. And so, but then there's like the dichotomy with the Groot and everybody going, well, you don't get to pick that, we're your family. We want to, we want to be there. And so there's kind of like this back and forth.
Yeah, they were telling Rocket he was being selfish, and not letting the team, his family, help him, and how...
Being a big jerk.
Yeah. He was doing what Rocket does best.
Yes.
I did enjoy the different look and aesthetic of Groot.
Yeah.
With his, he's got a really cool mohawk.
Well, he's like a teenager.
Yes.
Because he got pared down to a little baby, and he kind of has been growing, so he's kind of getting this teenage thing, and he's kind of whole now.
Yeah.
So he's able to talk. Yes,
and he's got these wee little saplings.
Yes.
Yeah.
That he spawns.
Mm-hmm. Super cute. So there's a big kind of showdown between Rocket and Groot, and then finally Groot comes to some begrudging stance where he's like, fine, I'll be there and I will help out, but I'm not going to be happy about it.
Yeah. Rocket's like, I don't want to.
Yeah. And then, meanwhile, as Rocket is having these confrontations with Groot, it's going to Star-Lord and Gamora and Star-Lord's dad.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and
Who's kind of possessed.
Mhm.
He's got this, like, he's possessed by something. But
right.
you're not quite sure what. And then,
Yeah. And then they enter this chamber, and it looks like he's got a bunch of other superheroes in stasis.
Right. Like people like the Starjammers and the Nova Corps, and I think there's the Shi'ar Imperial Guard, some other people in there. So, yeah.
So
And then Cosmo, the dog.
Yes.
The telepathic dog.
Poor Cosmo.
I like Cosmo.
Yeah, and so so Star-Lord is like, why are you doing this? And then his dad, Star-Lord's dad, reveals the big plan is to bring back...
Use the psychic life force of all these people.
Of all these people that are being in
to
stasis.
bring back not only Adam Warlock, but like several Adam Warlocks.
Lots.
Bum, 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 bum.
Lots and lots of Adam Warlock pods.
Yeah.
So, and that is the finale and where it ends.
Yeah.
To be continued.
So I've been reading the series since it started back up again, and so I really like the series. I think it's kind of fun. I like the art; it's very kinetic. They have some great stories. They have really personal things. They've got some really weight to it going on it with the different characters. I've really enjoyed it, but this is the first time you've read this,
Right, and I enjoyed it, even though I was just jumping into it. I felt like I was able to pick up
most of
what was going on, and so I was able to seamlessly understand what was
That's good.
the story.
See, that's always one thing. It's like always difficult when you're a new reader. You're never quite sure if it's going to be an easy thing. Like when I recommend things to new readers or something like that, I'm like, I don't know. Like I've read it for years. It's easy for me to follow, but
Yeah,
so that's good. I'm glad that worked out for you.
Yeah, so I was. If you have any kind of vague familiarity with the universe, then you're able to pick it right up. I really enjoyed the art. And then I really also enjoyed the, even though it was kind of weighty and heavy, the interaction between Groot and Rocket. I think that's a very real day struggle a lot of people have, either with their
dying,
that are in poor health or in mental crisis, and just trying to navigate that. So I really enjoyed the story.
Yeah. Awesome. What would you rate it?
I would probably say 4 unicorns.
4 out of 5. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree. 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the series. Like I said, I feel like it's kind of a total package. It's really great writing, great dialogue. The art's really nice. Characters are really interesting. It's an interesting story so far. I've really enjoyed what they've been doing with it. So, yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good.
So I'm going to do Detonator. It is by James Parrish and art by Carlos Nicolas Zomondi. And it's published by James Parrish. So this is a personalized book that I got on Comixology. But it is a #1. It is about this hero that's kind of stuck inside this his own, like, his house, and he's just kind of like, it's almost like he's a depressed person. He's just stuck there. He's kind of, there's all these things coming on the screen, like, you need to get out, come on, get up, you need to move, and he just keeps ignoring them, and he's like, if you don't get up, then I'm going to do something drastic. And all of a sudden, a rocket shoots through his window and blows up his house. But you don't realize he's a superhero quite yet. So it's just this person seeing these words on the screen, and he unplugs his TV, and it comes on his phone, and he does all this stuff. So it's somebody trying to get him to get up, and moving. People need you. You need to get up, and he's like, no. All of a sudden, a rocket comes in, his house blows up, and there's a villain-esque character. He's got like a big giant mask that looks like a bomb, like literally like a round bomb with a little fuse coming out of it, like a cartoon bomb. And then the house is on fire, and then all of a sudden the guy emerges in like this big blue like aura of energy that comes out, finds the guy and just punches him. Well, the guy goes flying, and he goes, I'm gonna get you, and he goes, no, you're not, and he activates another bomb, and all of a sudden this explosion goes, and the superhero flies off, and he's just sitting there crumpled, and he's the bomb or the villain guy. And he hits his communicator. He's like, "Come get me! I'm done." And so his little minions come and rescue him. Well, the superhero goes to where he sees the smoke and the bomb that went off, so he goes there to help people, and it's really just smoke and mirrors, and there's nobody there. You realize that it was a distraction that the villain set up so that he could get away.
Mm-hmm.
And then he kind of goes off and he undresses and gets into his regular life. The villain does, and you realize that he's, his girlfriend's like, why did you do this? It's just gonna be a bad idea. And he's like, no, we need to do something. And so they're like, what are we gonna do? And they aren't. Then next thing you know, the superhero guy shows up at this guy's house at the front door. So he's kind of used this villain persona to get him to kind of get out of whatever it was that whatever funk he was in.
Mm-hmm.
So he's trying to use this as a way to kind of reach out to him, which I feel is a little drastic. Blowing some of his house up in order to get them to move into your house because you're best friends on the sly. It's a little bit drastic. Probably not the best idea.
Maybe.
I mean, some interventions, maybe a cake.
A little needy.
Like a little codependency
Yes,
there.
exactly.
Yeah, something, like a nice book. Something. Blowing your house up is probably not the best idea. But all in all, it was a really quick story. It was not a really complex read. There was not a lot of complex plot points. It was just, it was a decent book, and the art was decent. It's probably not my favorite art. It was a little dark in places, so sometimes it got a little too convoluted. I couldn't tell quite everything, like some of the shapes and stuff. But overall, I thought it was a really great book. Really fun kind of premise. I'm curious to see what this guy's going to do with it. So I hope, a lot of times with these books, they come out with a number one and then they never come out with another book ever again. So it just really depends on, them. But I really hope they do, because this one was actually kind of fun. I'm curious to see what they would do with it. And it was interesting to, here's this guy depressed, and all of a sudden his house blows up, and then he's, you realize he's a superhero, and it's this guy trying to help. It was kind of a different twist. I wasn't quite ready for that. I thought it was just going to be a superhero villain book, and it really wasn't. I was like, oh, well, that was interesting. I wasn't ready for that. So, all in all, I'd give it 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. There are some things that I probably could have been better if it was a bigger book, a bigger published book. But all in all, I didn't think it was bad. So, interesting. It was interesting. So, all right.
All right. Next up is Ghost Spider, and it's number 1, volume 1, and written by Shannon McGuire and Takeshi Miyazawa. I'm so sorry I butchered that name. I apologize.
I think you got pretty close. It's probably it's pronounced James.
Not even close.
So close. I really like the opening page. It's really beautifully done.
Yeah,
the cover.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that a lot. Let's see. So it's opening on one, kind of, if you're familiar with the Spider-Verse, it's opening in one universe, Earth GS, and Gwen is talking with her friends, with the Mary Janes, and talking about how she needs to just revamp her life. She's kind of feeling kind of stagnant, and so she's wanting to leave. Her friends obviously don't want her to go, but she's like...
Well, also because, a lot of it is because her friends, Mary Jane and all the rest of the band are going off to college. They're going to do things, and she can't do those things because of the way that her persona is already known. Everybody knows.
Yeah, everybody knows she's
So
Spider-Gwen.
she can't go do those things like they can, and she really wants that.
Right, and so she decides to open up and go to another universe, and where she can be just more of a regular person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and I just love her costume. It's
so cool. I love the hood, and the color scheme is really neat.
Yes. Yeah. I really
it's
feminine,
love it. But it's really not.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, there's a lot of great things. The character design on her was really, really well done.
Yeah, I enjoy it. So the alternate universe she goes to is Earth GIG, and
616.
616. Okay.
Yep. And that's our like what our world will be.
Right, a present time with Peter Parker as
Right.
Spider-Man. And so she's off on adventures, and so she's going to the college where Peter Parker works as a professor, and she's trying to get all signed up.
Yeah.
And of course, I love there's in the middle of it there's Stan's soapbox, which I just love so much. Makes me happy. So Gwen goes to admissions at the college and is jumping through all the hoops to get signed up. And I guess pretty much if anybody has jumped through any of that red tape going to college or getting a licensure for work, you know how fun that is. So.
Kind of a joke. It's a lot of work.
So
a lot of paperwork. I don't think she even says it. Doesn't like the dean goes that it's all about the paperwork. Or,
it's all about the paperwork. So I really enjoyed that process, especially now I'm trying to get one of my licensures for work, and so it's just spinning the drain.
Get a little home.
Yes, and then excuse me, back during Gwen's world. So I guess So is it 6Z, 6S? What? Since the other one was 616.
I'm not for sure.
Okay.
I think it's GS.
GS. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe I got one right. Woo.
I'm not for sure. I don't read enough Spider-Man to actually be able to answer that.
Okay. And so so they pan back, and there's the powers that be have an individual in lockup. And then in comes the more administration of like the governing bodies, like the mayor.
Yeah. So this guy is like the commissioner or the what's the like Commissioner Gordon character,
right, chief,
but this is the chief. There you go, Chief of Police, and it's Spider-Gwen's dad.
Okay.
So that's her dad, and then the other one that comes in is J. Jonah Jameson, and he's like, in our or the 616 world is he's like over the paper and he hates Spider-Man. Well, this is kind of their version of that of J. Jonah Jameson, and the person that they keep talking about, the werewolf, that is actually his son who is an astronaut, and he's been infected, so he like committed these crimes as the werewolf. But now that he's human, then J. Jonah Jameson is like, he's not responsible for his stuff. Give me back my son. And the other guy's like, so they kind of have like this power struggle.
Yes, yeah, because he's committed crimes, so they want to keep him incarcerated.
But it's all like verbal power struggle. No, no physicalities.
No. And so as that's going on, back in Gwen's time, then they pan to 616, and Spider-Man and Ghost Spider, they're hanging out, swinging around the city. And find a giant rat, and so
in New York City, imagine that.
Imagine a giant rat.
We actually just got back from New York City.
Oh,
yes, it's an amazing city.
Loved it.
There are plenty of rats.
Lots of rats.
Human and four-legged.
Agreed. And so hilarity ensues. Lots of web slinging, and
a lot of banter, like they're kind of just. I feel like a lot of almost this whole issue, like they're always just kind of trying to wrap things up or close things from maybe a different series that they did,
or prepare it for the next.
It's like they're just like kind of setting everything up, and so a lot of the dialogue is very much setting it up because they talk about her costume being spiders,
right? And that was really interesting. I was not aware of that, and so
I didn't either.
Yeah, and so so that was really cool, and then them talking about. Her suit being like an alive type creature.
Yeah, like a symbiote.
And so talking about needing to make sure that she's eating properly and feeding her suit.
Yeah.
So
cellulose.
Yes.
Nonetheless.
Yeah.
So she needs to eat more celery.
Yes,
spinach.
Celery, spinach, kale
chips,
bark chips.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if it's maybe foreshadowing, but Spider-Man talks about how to make sure that she is controlling the suit,
right?
Not the suit controlling her.
Right. She needs to feed it to keep it alive and healthy, but she needs to make sure that she's not feeding it enough to let it overpower her.
Right. And so
apparently there's some kind of struggle there.
So I'm interested to see how that pans out. On this one, I just when as Gwen is like flying through the stage, I really love the action art, like the body position. It looks really, really awesome and super powerful. And so then they get to go back to college. All the paperwork is finally through. Woohoo! Hopefully this will be foreshadowing, and that my paperwork also will be through. And so, really, really, I enjoyed this. And then they go back to show what is going on back home in Gwen's world. And there's another Miles Warren, and he, I guess, is the Jackal.
Yes.
And so he's looking at ways to attack.
Yeah. He has one of her spiders from her suit. And in the 616 world, she runs into him, the Jackal, as a person, and her spider sense goes off. But she doesn't. She just thinks it's because they kind of run into each other.
Right.
But it's really, I think it's connected to her world, where the Jackal's actually going to cause her problems. So that's where he's a danger in her world, but
and so they're just again kind of setting that up of where's it going to lead to. So I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah. I thought it was I thought it was okay. It was a little boring, even though they had some stuff going on, but it was very much a setup issue. I really wish something would have happened a little bit more. Like,
there wasn't huge like cataclysmic battles.
Right, and even at the end, like the reveal was kind of not lame, but kind of lame after, it's just like you wanted more from an issue 1, especially since a lot of the stuff that they had, I feel like was, especially the dialogue, the actual stuff that's going on, is since it rests on a lot of the previous series, if you're going to hold on to that previous series, then you need to make sure that, this number 1 could have been a lot more, because if you're going to rest on, like, everybody's already read these other series, so they're going to know what's going on, then you should have went with that and gave it a little bit more of a, maybe not as explained as much. Like maybe not talk about her suit. Maybe wait for that for another issue or something where you could have put something in a little bit more dire. I'm not even quite sure what I'm looking for. Like I wish there was more. It was boring. I mean, like it was, and it wasn't boring because it was a bad book. It was just boring because it was just kind of like
mainly dialogue.
Yeah. It's kind of like, it's like when you get off work and you have that period between you get off work and when you're getting ready to go out to party. Like, you have that one period where you're just kind of bored, where you're kind of eating dinner and kind of getting your hair and makeup done and da-da-da. And then you get to the action. We're kind of in that phase. Like, we're in that boring, the prep phase. And we're like, okay, well, like, there's nothing really going on. I'm done with work. I'm waiting for this party. So we're kind of just like, meh.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that as a number 1 is not probably the best idea for me, personally, how I feel. So, but I'd give it middle of the road. It wasn't bad. The art was really nice. The dialogue was smooth and easily understood.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of stuff there I was like, I don't even know what's going on. So I feel like that was like one of the other books that you read that we talked about earlier, which we will talk about here in a little bit. So I'd say 3 out of 5 Unicorn Horns. It's middle of the road book.
Yeah, I would say about the same.
Good. Yeah, awesome. All right, let me do my next one. I'm gonna do Pretty Violent. It's by Image. It's a number 1. It's written by Derek Hunter, and art was by Derek Hunter. So this book is about it's this little girl. She's a superhero, and it starts off with this kind of Amazonian-esque monstrous creature woman has holding on to this, like, it looks like a normal guy, and then all of a sudden this superpowered girl comes flying in, knocks the monstrous lady character out, and grabs and thinks that she saves the day. Come to find out that she ended up saving a changeling. And so the monstrous character was the good guy, and the little guy was actually the bad guy. So the bad guy turns into like another monster and then kills the monstrous lady. So then everybody blames this little girl, like, why were you doing this? And she's like, I don't know, I thought I was helping. And then it just slowly progresses downhill. So then, like, the monstrous character starts killing off all these people, and so she's trying to stop it. Everybody hates her because she's kind of like to blame for it. So that, like, all mad at her, and she's like, but I'm trying to help. And like all of a sudden this robot character shows up, and she's like, he's like, why aren't you helping? So then he stops the girl, and she's like, wait a minute, I'm here to help you. Like, I'm trying to help everybody. And he's like, oh. and so she has to knock the robot character out in order to save herself, which she ends up killing the changeling, which ends up killing the destroys the robot character. Well, then she saves this pregnant woman by doing that, and the pregnant woman still blames her for everything. So it's just kind of like this slow hill where she's like always being constantly blamed for everything. Like and finally she gets to the point where she just had it, and so she starts just beating everybody up. So then she goes, it cuts to, finally finishes, she cuts to, she's kind of like at this bodega getting a smoothie, and she's like, the guy's like, if you're since you're a hero, it's on the house, and she's like, thanks. And he turns on the radio and it talks about how horrible she is. Like, this little girl, she destroys everybody, does everything bad, does everything up. And he's like, that'll be $3. And she's like, wait a minute. So then she kind of goes to, she's sitting there and talking to this guy in another costume, like a lizard costume. And he's talking about trying to find this secret villain hideout. And she's like, there's no such thing as a supervillain hideout, da-da-da-da. And he's like, yeah, there is. He goes, I want to find it someday. She's like, no, you need to quit looking for it. So then she flies off to go help stop this villain that's made out of lava. And while she's trying to stop this villain, she ends up incinerating half the city, killing people with the lava spewing from every time she hits the guy. So then they try to stop her, and she's like, but I'm still trying to help. And so she kills the monster by slamming an electrical tower into its head. And when she does, it explodes lava everywhere, kills the superhero that's trying to help her, kills half the city, and finally she just gives up. She finally falls into this giant underground lair where it ended up being the one that guy was looking for, and kind of find out it's nothing but villains, and they're all her family. So she's trying to be a hero, and but it's just not working out for her because her whole family's villains. And so apparently this is kind of the thing. And then it has like a little side story, backup story, where the father of the villain is trying to stop people. And it has her in the future, like she's part robot. She comes back to save him. And her and two other people are kind of arguing over what time period they're supposed to be in. Like, why aren't we supposed to be in a different time period? Like, and they're like, no, we're supposed to stop this person. And I was like, no, we're supposed to go and help this person. And so hilarity ensues, and they all die. And then the dad comes back to the lair, and he realizes that she was actually from the future, because the whole time he's like, you're not really from the future, I'm not playing this game, da-da-da-da. And he comes back, and he finds his daughter, like, laying there doing a face mask. She's like, no, I've been here all day. So it just wasn't that good. It was really convoluted, and they tried really hard to kind of make her, I don't know, it seemed too much to...
The art looks very silly.
Yes, it is. It's very cartoony and comic strip book. And it almost reminds me of what's the show with all this all the brothers and sisters on Cartoon Network?
Loud House?
Yes.
Yeah, it
Loud
reminds
House
me of the cartoons from Roger Rabbit.
Oh yeah.
The altered Jessica Rabbit, how she's really wild and chaotic looking.
Yes, and square, and there's the influence is very much there of different artists, cartoony artists, and I mean it's not bad art. It's just I don't know. I really again
very
number
silly,
one. Yeah, it was not. It just wasn't fun. It was. I think it was supposed to be funny, but it really wasn't. It was just okay, and so that kind of fell flat. Some of the humor, some of the art was a little bit too cartoony to the point where it was almost like you couldn't tell what they were actually doing. There's one point where she's grabbing something, and I'm not quite sure what she was grabbing. It didn't look appropriate. There's a lot of cussing in the book, which I'm all about cussing. I'm probably the lead in using as many cuss words in a sentence as possible, but
sentence enhancers.
Yes, yes. I like to call them sentence embellishments. But for all that, it just wasn't it just fell flat. And even the reveal, I was kind of I just couldn't get into the book, unfortunately. So sadly, I probably say 2 out of 5 unicorn horns, just because the art was kind of fun, and I'm all about some cussing comic books, so I gave it a little bit more than a 1, but I won't read number 2. But I hope this book finds an audience, and I mean, and the more different books there is, the better off But for me, it just wasn't there, unfortunately, sadly. So, so sad.
So sad. So sad.
Yeah. All right. So you'll do your final book.
Okay. All right. And this, of course, was a huge draw for me because it's Deadpool, and Deadpool is, you can't really kind of see on my shirt,
Oh, that's
but
right.
yeah, but I love me some Deadpool. He is my favorite. And this is Deadpool 1.
The animal.
Yeah, and Acts of Evil. It's written by Dana Schwartz, art by Riley Brown, and cover by Aaron Cooter. It's a really neat cover. I like, of course, it's got the unicorn and rainbows and
It's like the best 60s or best 80s
Yes.
stuff in the world.
yeah, very
Like
lean,
an 80s movie poster.
Yeah, very lean, maniacal looking bad guy. And so we open, and there is a young boy being plagued by nightmares. I'm a super huge big chicken, and so I identified well with this because he's super freaked out by his nightmares.
Which they were pretty haunting.
They were very haunting. There's like a little
Gnome
gnome
creature
creature that super evil looking.
I said, no, thank you.
Right. And so this boy is has written Deadpool a letter, and he's reaching out to try and have Deadpool help rid him of the nightmares. And so when the letter reaches Deadpool, it's showing him at an arcade, and he's classic Deadpool.
I like he's playing like a vaccine game where you got to shoot vaccines into kids. He's like,
Yes.
somebody gets interrupted. He's like, I hope you're happy about the measles outbreak. Or,
Yes, and I just enjoy Deadpool so much. He's very irreverent, and it has so many references to current culture, pop culture. I really enjoy it.
80s. There's all kinds. I mean, like he has all kinds of references.
Yes, yeah, and so I really thought it was super cute when he wins the game, battles the vaccines, gets the high score, and he's putting in his initials, and so he puts in J-Lo.
Yeah.
And so,
I like that the whole time he's talking to the mailman, he keeps calling him from like different famous mailmen.
right, like Mr. McFeely
Yeah.
from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and just I just love
Yeah.
it. So.
I think there was one from like what was the Norm, the guy from Cheers. I think he was in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a couple of them in there. That was
Yeah, just really good references. And then there's the scene as he's reading it, he's playing skee ball, and so he gets the letter and steals the mail truck, and off Deadpool goes to find this young boy so that he can assist. And when he arrives, there's yet another reference to popular movie culture, and what is the name of that movie
Which one?
with Gwyneth Paltrow and Brad Pitt?
Oh, Seven.
Yeah, Seven. And so
He
he
has his
arrives.
head in the box. What's in the box, man? What's in the box?
So he arrives, and the young boy comes downstairs, tells his babysitter, he's called Deadpool. And then as Deadpool enters the boy's room, he finds out that the boy not only has written Deadpool a letter, but he's written multiple letters to Squirrel Girl, because that's who
he really wanted to
That's who
show
he really
up.
wanted to show up, but sadly, no Squirrel Girl. Just lots of the boy's bedroom is decorated in a total homage to Squirrel Girl, and so he's begging for Deadpool to help, and Deadpool agrees. And kind of the kid's backstory is he's pretty much raised by babysitters. Mom and dad are always off gallivanting around and not
on some kind of honeymoon or trip, and he's stuck with the neighbor and the babysitter.
the babysitter.
Yeah.
And so
who Deadpool thinks is his mom.
right. And so so Deadpool goes out to get an amulet from Doctor Strange.
Yes.
And so he steals the amulet.
Hilarity
And
ensues.
hilarity ensues, monk-style fighting, and off Deadpool goes to the world of nightmares to defeat this guy so that he can.
His name's actually Nightmare.
Yes, so Nightmare's World.
Yeah.
And so he goes there so he can find out how to help the boy. And
Stop his
so
nightmares. Yeah.
hmm and so he enters Nightmare's world, and he very reminiscent of like almost a Joker inspired.
I could see that.
In a way, is what he reminded me of.
Just sadistic, trying to, yeah, I can see that.
Right. Well, or maybe almost like the original Riddler.
Yeah.
That very lean with the green build,
Yeah.
the big maniacal smile. And so he battles Nightmare, and really cool how I thought they brought in the unicorn, as Nightmare has
Yeah.
an evil unicorn.
Yeah.
Really, really well done. I enjoyed just the look and the presence of that evil kind of warhorse unicorn. And so they Nightmare and his little minions and Deadpool battle it out. And of course, Nightmare is mocking Deadpool about his nightmares and his greatest fears. And Deadpool says clowns, cows, and clown cows are his weakness.
Clowns? Snakes? Clown snakes? Well, now it's clown snakes.
Yes. And so, just I really enjoyed the.
Oh,
yeah. And so as he's finding out what the boy's nightmares are, the boy is doing everything he can not to sleep. And then we find out the neighbor that is supposed to be taking care of the boy is the one that is harming the boy. And
Yes.
so
Inappropriate games.
yes, lots of awfulness.
Mm-hmm.
And so Deadpool, he shows up on scene to take out this bad guy and rid him from the boy's world.
Yeah.
And so Deadpool saves the day in Deadpool fashion. And then Doctor Strange arrives to take back the
All this
amulets.
stuff.
Take away Deadpool's fun.
He's such a party pooper.
He really is. And so I enjoyed this book just because I love all things Deadpool, and I love the references to pop culture. I really loved the war horse that Nightmare had.
Yeah.
Just very striking art, and so I enjoyed that a whole lot.
I thought the art was really good. The dialogue was very, very talented.
It's very witty.
Yes, and the only thing I didn't like was obviously the ending. I was very sad about that whole.
It's distressing.
Yes, like the whole boy being molested was not. It's not like. That's always a horrible subject, and so it's really difficult. And I think they did it well. I think they did well, but I really do feel like the whole book you're just kind of like giggling and laughing, and then
it
you
goes,
just feel bad, and then
right.
you just feel bad for being happy, and so it kind of killed it.
Yeah.
But like I mean, I'm glad that they did it well. Like I said, the dialogue was really well done. I followed the story really well. The art was really well done.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was. I really liked it. I wish the ending was so sad.
Yeah.
That made me sad. But anyways, I say 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. I thought it was pretty good. It was okay.
Yeah,
Not
I would
my
give it a
favorite.
definite 4.
Yeah, but you're biased.
Super Deadpool bias.
You are super biased. I got so many. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do one where it's called Strayed, and it's by Dark Horse. The writer is Carlos Giafani, and the art is Juan Do. And the cover is just so beautiful. It's like this little Sphinx cat, and it just looks so cute, and it's like really pretty. Sadly, that is where it ends, because the rest of the book is utter junk. It is sad, and like I just don't. Not even sad, like sad as in like the previous Deadpool story ending sad. It's sad just because it's not good.
It's really not well done.
No, like it's confusing. The whole thing is very convoluted. I feel like they had a good solid basis, and somewhere some editor was not doing his job and did not let this person pare things down, because I feel like they were trying to do way too much, and it got really confusing. So it starts off, and it kind of gives this like aloof thing that cats can astral project into different worlds, and so this cat is trying to find a world to that is humans can exist on. So it kind of starts with this a montage where it's going to these different worlds, and it's like, nope, way too sharp, way too pointy, way too acid, way too this, and then it finally finds one. It comes back, and when it comes back, it tells this doctor lady that he found one. So he gives her the location, and he has like this little necklace that you find out she invented to be able to communicate with the cat, and But once they found out that they can astral project, the government obviously is trying to use them as weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So she loves the cat, and he's like, okay, I'm tired now, so I'm gonna leave. And so he goes to bed, and she gets kicked out, and then it goes to the maniacal bad guy, where they want to begin colonization. So they go and send ships to this world and just destroy all the living things in the world so that they can colonize it. And then it goes into this weird montage thing where it shows the cat and how like it started off with communication, and once they learned, then they experimented on him, and now they're using him as a weapon. I think that's what they were doing, but it got really confusing. I'm not for sure. It got really weird. Like, I feel like I should have been doing drugs to understand some of the stuff. So
you had to be altered to
yeah, exactly. I feel like I needed to be on something higher. So the doctor tries to get in to see her cat, and there's guards saying, you can't see the cat. You can't do that without permission. So she's upset, and finally they send for her, and they talk about, she's like, I want to see my cat. And he's like, no, you can't. She goes, but I'm going to. He goes, no, you can't. And so they're like, the cat needs to find us a new world. He needs to do this. He gives them all a list of demands. And she's like, I'm not going to do it. And he goes, you're going to have to, or we're going to kill the cat and kill you and do all this other stuff. Or we'll kill you and then we'll use the cat. So she's kind of trying to stay around to help the cat. And then it switched to this like other alien thing. And like, I don't know. I got so confused. I really was very convoluted, and it just got weird, which really made me sad because I thought the premise was kind of an interesting one.
Right, and like you said, the cover is really, really cute.
Yeah, the cover is stunning, and some of the imagery was kind of interesting, like bits and pieces here. But overall, it was very, very confusing art, very confusing story. I'm not quite sure what they're going to do with this. There was no clear viewpoint from the side. It was just a lot of tropes, and not even good tropes. It was just, like they're using the cat, and she's the connection to the cat, and so they got to use her, and it just got really twisted. And so I didn't enjoy it. I won't pick up number 2. I was very sad. And because you made me feel sad about cats, I give you a 1 out of 5 unicorn horns. Because cats is my thing. Watch any of the other videos and you'll see how 800 million of them I have. But like, I was really disappointed. It just makes me sad inside. Makes my heart hurt. Why can't cats fly? So I wish they would have done something. I wish it would have been a little more clear. Again, like, I feel like they had a solid idea. It's just for some reason whoever wrote it was like, I got all these ideas, I'm putting them all in. And there was nobody there to go.
We need
one idea.
Let's develop this.
We'll branch out a little bit later. Yeah, it was really sad. Yeah. All right, so let's go through our pull list really quick, and then we'll be done. Because you actually read one extra one, so we'll get to that.
Okay.
So Van Helsing versus Dracula's Daughter, number 1. Just a setup issue. It talks about Dracula's daughter comes in, breaks into Van Helsing's lair, frees Dracula's bones, and so Van Helsing's out trying to look for her, or look for them, and she doesn't realize it was her daughter yet. Bad Reception, that one was a interesting book. because it sucked. I got through about 3 pages and then just gave up. And then I literally thumbed through the rest of them. Because the first 3 pages are nothing but dialogue and this like red line and then a dead body, and then I was just done. And so I started thumbing through it, and finally when it got to words, I started again, and it actually had panels and stuff, and it's about this actress. She's getting married, so she's going to have like this wedding where no phones are allowed, and then it talks about she goes to see her friend who she hasn't seen in years, that she really wants them to come, and then I just kind of gave up.
I was going to say, it looks really dense and busy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it wasn't even interesting. Like, it was like, no. I don't know what you were doing. I don't know where you're going with that. Sadly, that's a 1 out of 5 unicorn horns. Cinescope, Van Helsing, I always give 3 out of 5 because they're always just good books. Good art, or good book, good art, good dialogue, good story. Nothing too crazy, nothing bad. It's just, they just put out good books. So, good job again, Cinescope. Bad reception? No, it's not a good book. No, you don't make a comic book and then have 7 pages of dialogue. Like, it's not a script. It's not a book. If I wanted to read a book, I would have read a book. But you're here for comic books. It's a visual medium. It's words and art together, and you just totally failed that one.
Yeah, really lacking on the art part.
Yeah. 1 out of 5 unicorn horns. I was really sad. I again wish everybody the best. I hope they do amazingly, because I would never wish a comic book ill will, because the more comic books in the world, that means the more people are reading them and the better off the world is. Mm-hmm. But for me, it just was not there. Adventures of the Venture Finders, The Edge of Empire. This is apparently a continuation from another book. Because there was a lot of stuff in here that you had to either infer if you didn't know, or you had to have read the other series. I assume there's one. I haven't looked to see if there is another one, but there was a lot of stuff in here that like they acted like they had already set up. Like, you should already know all this.
Okay.
And so I probably missed the boat on that one. But still, it's just a venture book, a venture fantasy kind of book. There's a girl that's kind of a soldier, a paladin kind of girl, a wizard guy. And they are all doing this caravan somewhere to, they're leaving the city in this big giant caravan with all these soldiers. And then part of it is like a circus caravan is in one spot. And so the circus caravan, the soldier girl kind of like keeps talking to this creature. And she's like, I'm still trying to get money to free you. And the guy's like, I'll never sell. And so come to find out at the end, they get attacked by like these orc trollish creatures. And so they're all kind of fighting, and the creature's in a cage, and so she's like, we've got to save the creature, and so that she runs off to go help him, and she frees him, and he's like this hyena human hybrid, and so he jumps out, and he's just like waylaying it, and like he just starts like killing a whole bunch of the bad guys.
Oh wow!
And so at the end, it's kind of her, and then so I thought it was kind of neat. I don't think I'm gonna pick up number 2 until I can either find out what was the rest of the book. Because I felt a little lost. Yeah.
Okay.
Especially the characterization. Like, you assume that they're kind of this way, but I'm not for sure how they got there, what they can do, and stuff like that. So that kind of got a little odd. But if I could find the first series, I might try to read the first series and then maybe read issue 2. But if I can't, then I wouldn't read issue 2 just because it was a little convoluted. Didn't set things up really well. Teen Titans. I really like this book. This one was a little bit slow. They're just kind of like they're kind of catching up from all the stuff that's happened. The prison that they had hidden, that Robin had hidden, they all found about it. Then they had to fight Deathstroke, and then Red Arrow killed Deathstroke, and so she left the team. And so they're all kind of trying to recover from the Lobo coming and trying to kill them. So this one's just kind of a setup issue. Still, I really enjoyed it. 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. It's actually I left it for a while, and I kind of came back because of the stuff. Hellboy, the BPRD, Saturn Returns, really weird, convoluted book. Like like it's boring too. Like nothing like.
And then I felt like at the end when they were trying to like, so they find all of these dead bodies and they're like, what? And then all of these runes like on the wall, and they're like, where did they come from? They look occultish or not occultish. Maybe kids did it. And so by the end of it, I felt like they were just like spitballing a vampire, a werewolf, a chimera, a changeling.
Yeah.
So
they really were like the whole book, that's the whole book. It's almost like they were trying to do a SVU series in a book form or a comic book form, and I'm like, it just didn't work.
Yes,
well.
and they just kept panning back to the hearts being ripped out of the chest, and so. But I was just I felt like
and there was no really big reveal at the end. The big reveal was the fire girl. What is her name? I can't remember her name, but she escapes from like BPRD. She escapes from them. Like they kind of had her in like a self-opposed imprisonment kind of thing, and so she leaves, and that was the big thing at the end. I don't even know why she was. The thing was like. I don't even know who half the characters were. I knew Hellboy, and I don't know who the cult lady was. I didn't know her.
It seemed very disorganized and then very anticlimactic.
Yes. And they used a lot of stuff to kind of just like build it up, and then nothing ever happened. Yeah. So it was just, I was really disappointed.
Yeah, and I love Hellboy, so I was sad.
So 2 out of 5 unicorn horns for me. Psylords is kind of picking up. They're kind of getting more into the lore of where they came from, what they can do, and what their goal is. The hard part is it's issue 3 and they're still trying to set up their premise. So it's like you've had 2 issues now.
Let's get something wrong.
You need to set up the premise and actually move forward with the premise. And now it's just kind of like they had a big reveal at the end. One of the guys is a traitor, and so that was kind of a crazy thing. But I don't know. Like I want this book to be more. And as beautiful as the art is...
I was going to say, the cover looks really striking.
Yes, and the art in the inside is really beautiful. Like, they do really well with the faces and stuff like that. Sometimes, though, it gets a little, like, I don't know, it's almost too well done that you can't tell some of the times who people are. You have to read it. It's almost like everything's, like, a little blurred out. There's some kind of wash over it. I'm not for sure. But sometimes that can be a bit much with some of the paneling. But I want it to be more. It just keeps going, and I'm hoping I keep staying on. I'll keep going. It's like you can do it. 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. So the other one was Blade Runner #2. I really like this book. It's really good. Blade Runner series, I feel like is always confusing, but this book, like they're doing really good. Last episode, that's what James always calls him. He's contagious. So the last issue they had, the detective was, you find the detective can't walk, and so she has like a spinal implant that she has to keep constantly hook up, and so she's got this like spinal rig, and she's after this wife and daughter that are missing. She's hired to find them, and you find out that the wife is actually a synthezoid, like she's a fake person, a robot. And so they have, she's like escaped to this camp where she's trying to get this skin doctor to redo her look so that she can kind of go missing.
Right.
But he ends up getting caught by the police because the detective finds him and all this stuff. It's just really good. Like, I really like this book. The dialogue can be a little confusing, a little bit, but most of it I understood. So I really think it's an interesting kind of premise, and really need to see the Blade Runner world from this book. I really liked it. So I say 4 out of 5 unicorns for this one. So I'm really excited about it. And the last, I have 2 more. Eve Stranger. This is the one where she has to give herself an injection every like so many days, 5 days I think it is. And when she does, like the nanobots recycle, and she loses all her memories, all her short-term memories, and then she has like a new mission. So they keep using her, but this goes more into like how she came into being. So she had a rare, something happened to her. She had health issues. Her dad was a scientist. He put these nanobots to help her, but he realized that they recycled, and she had to have these injections to keep, but her short-term memory was being lost. So her aunt was like, well, you need to let me have her for a little while so we can experiment and see what applications we can use these nanobots for. And he's like, no, you're not using my daughter. So she kills him, blows up their house, kills her family, and takes her because she's not going to remember anything. So the little girl thinks that she's like, she's helping her. But she's kind of an adventurer. Like, she finds this ape that was experimented on, and she was a little girl, and she got turned into this giant gorilla, and so so she goes to help her stop the people that turned her into the gorilla, and but her aunt was like has a spy that kind of is sleeping with her, Eve Stranger, and she's like you need to get her back on her thing. You need to take care of this and get rid of all this stuff. And so he goes, I'll take care of Sarah. I'll make sure Sarah gets to the wherever she needs to go. I'll find her a place to be, and I'll get rid of all the stuff. And so Eve Stranger's like, okay, I'll go back to the hotel, and because I gotta get ready to put in the new nanobots. And so you get this ominous thing that he's really not gonna. He's gonna kill her and kill the ape and just kind of clean everything up.
Oh.
But she's not gonna remember any of it, so it's kind of sad.
That's so tragic.
It is, but it's still really good. Like, and the art's really interesting. It's very much of a Gorillaz kind of art, like the old band Gorillaz. Like they're like almost like like the square foot or the square jaw, and like the art is very similar to that. But it's really good. I like it. 4 out of 5 unicorn horns. The Pride. This is the second volume or season 2, and this is the 3rd issue in that. And it's like it is superheroes, but they are all some kind of gay, lesbian, transgender, intersex, whatever. All the letters, and they form a team of superheroes out of that. And of course, it's kind of like their life, being in, this the LGBT team, and it's kind of them dealing with that. And so this is the 2nd season that they did, and so now they're trying to expand their scope by finding other people around the world or other people within their community to fill in spots, like they need a magic user and somebody to heal and so the core team gets to pick one nominee that they think would be good to have a reserve member. Is what they're kind of doing, getting a reserve together so that if you need them. So they're kind of starting around the world. Well, back in the first series, one of the members is Bear, and he has HIV, but he was kidnapped and he was used for all these experiments, and so he's in the hospital. His son joined the team, whose son is straight, and he is trying to watch over his dad. Well, the guy that beat him up, the Basher, he comes and he comes to the hospital, and so Cub is trying to protect his dad and fighting Basher, and while the rest of the team is split up into different groups to find different heroes around the world. And so they come back and they help Cub, and at the end of the book, it ends up they used Cub's blood to help heal his dad, Bear, but it healed him to the point where he's no longer a bear. Like, he was literally a physical bear. And now he is not. He is human. So it's a really fun book. Sometimes I feel like the dialogue or the transitions between events can be a bit choppy, and so I feel like it is very amateurish sometimes with that, and I don't like that almost every single book they have a new artist, and that's very, very hard sometimes when you are in a story and the art keeps changing. Even though the characters look still the same, when the art changes, they still change enough the look of them that sometimes it's hard to tell who's who.
Right. It kind of changes the tone or the
the feel of the book. And so I wish they would have longer arcs with maybe a longer artist, maybe 3 or 4 issues they could get an artist to do, so it wouldn't take you out of the book as much. But sometimes that is very much a takes you out of the book. So, but still, it's a fun read if you're LGBTQ or a plus, or it's an interesting kind of. You can find a lot of familiar stories in there from some of the struggles that they have, and some of the characters they have. They try to include a lot of people. Like, they just recently got a Asian lady that is intersex. So they try to tackle more of that community and that kind of nostalgia, or not nostalgia, but
kind of give representation.
Yeah. And so exactly. And so they're trying to add those stories in with being a superhero kind of flair to it. So so it's a fun read. If you have Comixology, it's like an unlimited book, so you can read it for free. But I enjoy it. I just wish they, like I said, I wish they could carry on the art, and sometimes I wish the transitions were not as choppy. So, but it's still fun. I enjoy it.
4 out of 5 unicorn horns, just because I think that's something that's a connection that I feel like really is interesting. So, lots of books this week.
It was a lot of books.
Yeah. So, that's our show for the week. Tell us what you thought. If you can, like, share, and subscribe. We'd love to have more of a conversation. Ring the bell so that you get notifications. And if there's a book that we're not reading that we should try out, let us know.
Oh,
Yeah. And then hopefully it won't be 6 months until we see the Harpy again. So until then, we hope your pull list is full. Bye.
Bye.